Parallel Planets podcast.
I'm here with Janine Lowe. Janine, perhaps you could explain to us, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what Feng Shui is and why it's important for us,
Hey,
please.
glad to be here, Kit.
Thank you.
So Feng Shui is a huge, huge topic, and it's something that can actually change your life very quickly. Okay, so Feng Shui means wind and water. So the reason that is the Chinese use water movement to activate different areas. Now that's getting complicated immediately. So let's go back to basics. When you go into a coffee shop, yeah. Sometimes you go and you go, oh, wow, I really like this coffee shop. You want to sit there, you want to have your coffee, open your computer and chill. Sometimes you go into a coffee shop and you go, I don't want to be here. You'll actually turn around and go out. That's because the energy in the different coffee shops are what make you feel good or not good. So that's like a simple answer, right? So using Feng Shui, you can make the people come into your coffee shop because you have the best energy. And the way you do that is by having not only things in the right places, and I don't mean just a fridge and a beer can or a coffee. You have the whole decor, the whole ambience sorted so that people can sit down and feel relaxed. If you go into a coffee shop that is got lots of clutter around it, people have left their mugs, no one's cleared it, you have paintings that you don't feel relaxed in, don't actually relate to being in a coffee shop, you're just a random picture of a stag behind you, just stuck up in a coffee shop. You're not actually going to think this is a coffee shop, yeah? So you have to relate to what your area you're in. So a really nice coffee shop will be nice chairs that make you feel, okay, I'm going to sit here for a little while, but I'm going to leave. So you have a certain sort of decor. If you go into a coffee shop in a negative way that just has steel seats and benches, you're not going to stay there very long. You're not actually going to feel relaxed when you sit there with your computer. So you make the ambience really nice. One of the biggest things with Feng Shui is clutter. So if you look behind the counter and there's just loads of, we obviously have machines, but you have loads of cups and saucers and where they haven't cleared it, you immediately don't feel right. So I'm using the coffee shop as an excuse of how you feel when you go into. So when you go into a coffee shop, what makes you stay there, Kit?
Yeah, and now thinking about it, I would suggest I would be turned off from ordering a coffee if it was cluttered up in there.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that probably makes me stay there is wanting to get the buzz off the caffeine, but
Yeah.
that's probably the main thing. But yeah, I certainly um, leading into maybe cleanliness and stuff like that. If there's loads of stuff everywhere, then yeah, I'm not too keen.
Okay, so if we go back and we do Feng Shui in the house, there's 9 different areas in your house. Yeah, that if you're an absolute novice and don't know anything about Feng Shui, if you look at the directions in your house, which is south, southwest, I could go through all 9 of them, but I will in a different way in a minute. Each part of your house is allocated to a different part of your life. So the south, which is really important for you because you're a singer, is fame. Yeah.
Right.
And so if you want to be famous or make your business even bigger to do with musicals, then you would work in the south. Relationships are the southwest. West is creativity. Northwest is helpful people. North is career. Northeast is wealth, which I'll go into a little bit later.
Yeah.
Is um, uh, ancestry, and good fortune is southeast. Now, when I go into Feng Shui someone's house, they often call me in and they go, oh, I want more wealth or I want more happiness or joy or abundance. So what I do is I go into the house. It's a bit like Cluedo. So you walk through the door. I know where all the directions are. And more often than not, what's not working is full of clutter. Okay, so if you say went to the northeast of that person's house, yeah, so from the center of your house, you would find 60 degrees. If you went to the northeast of your house and it was full of clutter, loads of coats, shoes thrown in the corner, that sort of thing, then that area will not bring you in wealth because clutter actually causes the worst part of negative energy. Yeah. So when you look at your own house, I was on a podcast the other week, and the woman immediately had my book out. She was like, "Oh my God, I know where the Northeast is, and I hate going there." And I said, "Well, how's your finances then?" And she was like, "Well, not very good." Anyway, she got back to me and she did exactly what I said. She decluttered that area. She's not only that, she said from her flat, she could look into that area and it was just really nice. And suddenly money started to come in. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So that's Feng Shui. If I go into Feng Shui someone's house who is lonely, say, they don't have any people in their life, that would be in the northwest. And if you looked in there and it was absolutely clear, tidy, nothing going on, a client I did that for, it was like they just didn't care about that area. So as soon as they started to activate it by putting in the things that you should put into that area, they started acts. So I've told this story a number of times, but I went to a house and the woman basically was lonely. She was very lonely. I've done many houses, but this one always stands out. She was about 60, didn't have any friends. House was beautiful. Everything was in its right area. No random shit stuff anywhere. Did I nearly say that word?
It's all right. I'll beep it out.
Okay, normal stuff everywhere. Just the whole house was absolutely perfect. Yeah. And I said to her, have you not got any animals, being an animal lover? And she goes, "Oh no, it might just untidy the house, be a bit messy." Anyway, she liked cats. Anyway, after long talking, we found a few things that weren't working. So we worked in the northwest. Now, when I say work, what I mean is we went in, we didn't need to declutter it because it was really clean, but we made a manifest board. Now, I like manifest boards, but people seem to stick them on the wall and they forget about them. For me, a manifest board is about taking action. It's an action plan. So we put on there what she wanted to do, how she wanted to meet people, how she really liked cats, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, we did some other stuff. She wanted some more money in, so we went to the wealth area. I said, "This is where you sit and you do your finances, your positive finances," which is what she did. Anyway, 3 months later, it's always 3 months later, she came back in contact and she started working in a cat rescue home. And basically, when I went to see her 3 months later, she'd adopted two very old cats. And now she'd made friends in the cat place and other places. And so she wasn't lonely anymore. I made this story very short. So all the different areas in your house are allocated to different parts of your life. So let's take you, Kit, right?
Yeah.
So you're an ace, singer, guitarist, that sort of thing.
Thank you.
And say you wanted to be even more famous than you are. Okay. So you have this podcast that you do now. So in the South, I would have you working exactly in that area. So you did your podcasts in that area. So the energy of that area, and this isn't woo-woo, this is actual fact.
I don't mind.
If you worked in that, I'm into woo-woo, but if you worked dead on around 180 degrees in your house, this is being very technical, and you did all your editing and everything to do with that, or you rang your people who you do your shows for or whatever in that area, your business would start to mature, just explosive, really, like the stars behind me. And you would, in fact, you'd have too much work because it works so quickly, because what you're doing is you're using the area which is already clean, tidy, and focused on the fame of being famous, infamous famous, and then you're working in that area to make what you want to come true. And until you actually do this and you start to see the difference, you will literally see amazing. Like if you had that call and you wanted to work in a new place, and you were contacting them, even if you do it on email, as you're starting to do it, you're already thinking of the positiveness, and that area of your house is there to help you, if you've done it right.
And that's the south side of my house.
Yeah. So from the center of your house, find the center of your house. If you haven't got plans, you walk the line. So horizontal 10 steps, width 10 steps, 5. Find the center, stand there, and find 180 degrees, and just either side of that degrees, and work in that area, and you will start to things will start to move. It can be a little, when people employ me, there are
Mm,
certain days and times, which just goes into Chinese astrology,
mm.
that you can actually make things work even more. I was selling a business, and this Saturday, I saw there was a legal star. So I went to the Northwest, which is very difficult, and I painted the room with every paint stroke I wanted the shop to sell. Yeah.
Yeah, of
And
course.
sure enough, by the next day, it has
Mm.
sold. So it's
Wow.
about intention, and it's about action, and it's about having the right colours in the right area. So the Northwest is white. So I know this sounds really mad, except for I
I
can
don't
actually.
mind. It's what it's all about. Tell me. I love all this.
Yeah. I had my shop on the market for about 6 weeks, yeah,
Yeah.
and a couple, and I've had people come through the door, and I was like, they're not really. This has been my baby since my son was 7, and he's 43 now. But I was determined to sell it. Anyway, a couple came through, lovely guys came through the other day, and I really wanted them to buy it. So I looked into my books, and Saturday was a really good day in the Northwest. Yeah, so I made sure that was all clean, painted it. With every paintbrush, I saw the shop sold, and by that night at 8 o'clock, they'd made an offer.
Right. Okay.
Because intention is there. If you want
Yeah.
things to do, like when people bring me in, I work for companies, and I go in every year and I activate. We use the word activate. I place water, tell them to put a water feature here, yeah,
Mm.
and then the wealth will come in. My son was in Bangkok one year, and it was the change of the year, and they'd come in. They'd flown in um, a feng shui consultant, and by helicopter. He was there about 20 minutes, and he said, Mum, they said exactly what you did. They came in, and they just in this multi-million-pound company, and all they did was move the water feature from there to there. They
Right.
did it physically, and that company is very prosperous. So using like acupuncture parts in your building, like you have acupuncture or reflexology,
Mm.
your house is like that, and it has lines going through it. And if you find the right line in the right place, you can make things happen. Some people call it magic.
Yeah.
Feng Shui.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah. So obviously, I've heard of manifestation, and certain people do this sort try and manifest things they want in their lives in certain ways. Um, People have what is it called? The board, manifestation board. Yeah, yeah. I pray. Some people do other different things, and it does seem to work. So this is almost as though it's like a sort of physical version
Yes.
of manifestation. You physically do things as opposed to putting stuff on a board or praying or
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
Asking the universe, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly that. And the thing is with Feng Shui, you actually have 9 dedicated areas in your house. Yeah. Um, and I've got a book out, Feng Shui Way to Abundance, which came out last year in December. And what I've done is I've written it in a way that people can then, at 100%, start doing it on themselves. It is so practical, it's so easy.
Hmm.
Some people also use crystals. I didn't know a lot about crystals. I started to learn about them. They put this crystal in a certain place, and then things start to happen. And
Hmm.
I thought, I've never done that, so let's have a little go at that. And again, I think, like you say, pray, manifest, whatever, it's still a tool. It's asking the
Yeah.
universe to hear us, and this is what we want.
I'm interested with the crystals thing recently because my vocal coach has got loads laid out on in the singing room, as it's known, and she even wears them around her wrists and sometimes near her eyes and stuff. And I
Oh,
haven't asked her because yeah, that's sometimes a bit of a private thing, but I just thought it was quite interesting. And uh, yeah, but she does. She swears by them like that. And but then again, that's another connection for the physical manifestation process, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I have to say that I came into Feng Shui because of how I was brought up, and became like a cloak around me, so that
yeah.
people understood Feng Shui, but they wouldn't understand where I came from and what my upbringing was and what happened. So Feng Shui for me is a tool,
Mm.
but I can teach people how to use it. It's that easy. And
Mm.
if you talk about Feng Shui, the biggest tool for Feng Shui is decluttering as well. we all have that drawer in the kitchen or or that thing in the hallway where we chuck everything down. But whatever that area is in your house, it will affect that part of your life. And I have seen it I mean, I've been Feng Shui since 2004, and I have been into many, 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 many places abroad, this country and that. And I go in and they go, why do, if I go into companies, why does the phone start ringing as soon as you've done your Feng Shui? Yeah. And I was like, because now it's activated as it's meant to be. And also, if I'm talking to the CEO or the CTO or COO, and I'm in their area, they start to talk about what they need changes in. And I swear that the more they start to talk and I listen really intently and put my intention into it, and then you can start to see things start to change. I was in a company the other day, actually in the sales department, and they had this product that wasn't selling. Yeah. So we did some Feng Shui, moved things around and everything. And then literally while I was there, one of their biggest clients who they hadn't heard from for 3 months rang them, and they're like, wow, why don't you just sit here every day, Janine, and then we will make loads of money. And I was like, yeah, but you can do what I do. I'm just training you to do it.
So it's almost as though the physical barriers are in the way of good stuff happening, and then once those things are sorted out and moved out the way, I'm being very basic here, but
No, you're
yeah,
exactly
yeah,
right. Like if you're in a relationship that's wrong, right? Or you're in a relationship, yeah, let's say a relationship that's wrong. We won't go into what sort of relationship.
yeah,
And then you finally give it up
yeah,
and it ends. And then everything starts to become positive again because you've had all that negative energy in you, which you've been living with inside, internally, and your body's not liked it at all. And then suddenly, obviously, the breakup isn't the best thing in the world, but they call it, the breakup diet. People lose loads of weight and things start to change. And,
yeah,
often when people are in happy relationships, they start to, like, they go out for dinners, they start putting weight on, they say.
yeah, yeah.
But as soon as you've got out of that relationship that wasn't working for you, your energy changes. And that is what you want to do. You want to positively work on the good stuff. We all have up and down days, but if you have a down day, which we all do, if you think about it, okay, I'll go to bed, tomorrow's another day. You see that. But if you start the day anew every time, you can start to like build up that energy. And that's what happens with Feng Shui in the house. So my house is totally Feng Shui'd up. If you come here, you'll think, what has she got that there for? I've got a water feature here, or I've got this here. Don't even start about the rescue cats that are everywhere. But you come in, you'll go to my house, and like I was training people. I had 8 people here last year, and I was training them, and they said they couldn't believe how easy it was to Feng Shui my house up and where I got them sitting and how the energies were. And until you've started to do it yourself and start to see the changes in your life, I think you'll understand it a lot more. There is just tools to do it, you know. And also the other thing about Feng Shui is mindset. You know, if we talk about you had a job for a while and then you decided this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to make a full-time professional career being a singer and that. What was that like when you changed, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to take a risk and do that. What happened?
I feel like I kind of was overcome by this relentless need to work all the time to make sure that I could secure all the work that I needed to pay the bills moving forward instead of relying on a monthly income as an employee to rely on myself. So it was almost as though I was overcome by this need to relentlessly work. I was working from sort of 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. Getting mail shots done and organising stuff, I guess, would be the
Yeah.
right answer. And then now it's worked out. I don't rest, but I still work, but I've got somewhere now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that is that's also your Chinese animal, but also the decision that you made that this is what I want to do. I don't want to be in a 9 to 5 job.
Nah.
Nothing against 9 to 5 people that do
Oh,
9 to 5 jobs, but you don't want to. You have this entrepreneur in you, which I
yeah, it's
know
not for me.
your
Yeah.
Chinese chart. So you
Right.
have that in you, and you just need to. And again, I say the south in your house is so important, especially this year. Um, you know, to activate. This year, you have something called helpful people in your chart. We're coming away from Feng Shui to Chinese astrology.
Yeah.
Helpful people are there people around you, close to you, as well as maybe a bit further, who can help you expand your career into maybe not working so much, but earning more money.
Absolutely.
So
Interestingly, with the south, for those who don't know, my house is there. Uh, I do a lot of my work in the bedroom, and we always say to each other how there's such a nice energy in that area of the house,
yeah.
and it's very relaxing. I don't know if it's because you can't really hear the road, but you can hear the birds, and the sun's always on the window, something along those lines. And also, like you say, it is in the south side of the house.
Every part of your house, everybody has a different area. So I have, in my Chinese astrology, I am the southeast is my area, right?
Mm.
And I put the TV so that I can not intentionally until I work this out, so I can watch TV and be in the southeast. And there's different parts of your house that are good for you.
Mm.
And when you know, you learn them off of Chinese astrology. Obviously, I'm a Chinese astrologer as well.
Yeah.
And then you do them. And as soon as you start to implement Feng Shui, Chinese astrology, you know, manifesting, praying, whatever, into your world, and you make that your world, rather than focusing on when we have the dark days that everybody has, you think, well, why has that happened? Yeah.
Mm.
And just think, well, that's that. What else can I do to do that? You know, I mean, you know me, and I
Mm.
rescue street cats.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, to give a cat that's just lived on the streets, not eaten, broken paws, broken tails, thrown in a plastic bag. All this has happened to the cats that I actually have. And bringing in, and they, for me, bring in positive energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they, you know, people say, how have you got 6 cats that don't even know each other, all living in harmony? 1, the house is all sorted out. Yeah. 2, I'm into Reiki. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's, I love working with energy, and Feng Shui is energy.
I was going to ask actually because I understand how fabulous it is to have animals around. I grew up with animals, and we've obviously got one here. But is there some sort of relation to Feng Shui with animals as well? Uh, Something to do with the energy they create, or something along those lines? Is there some
Yeah.
correlation?
I mean, obviously, some people who might be listening to this aren't animal lovers and
Yeah,
don't want them in the house, and that's an absolute fine. You know, we're
yeah.
not to have that. I don't particularly like spiders, so I'd rather they weren't
No,
in the house.
I'm not keen. No.
Although now I have cat who lived in an alley, and so I don't have spiders in my house because that was what he ate. So
Mm,
when he moved in 2 years ago, I'm the lucky one. I don't have spiders anymore. So
mm.
my thing about animals are they come with the most positive energy because they don't know how not to
Right.
when they come into your
Yeah.
house. They come in with this abundance of a kitten going, hi, oh, you love me. Oh, let me just cuddle you. Oh, I love this. You
Yeah.
know, Morrison, who's my new rescue, he and his siblings was put in a plastic bag outside a supermarket and left at 10 days old. Yeah. And of course, that affected him. The judge
Yeah.
took him in and they asked if I would take him because he had ADHD. How can a kitten have ADHD? He does not know when to stop.
Yeah. They're all
No,
like that, aren't they?
no, I
Oh,
have
okay.
very normal cats,
Oh,
but
fair
he would
enough.
be
Right.
still going at 10 o'clock. So when I took him, they said, you're going to have to get a cage. So I had to put this little cat in a cage so it would rest. If it
Mm.
wasn't in there, it would get an Amazon box and literally push it from one end of the lounge to the other end of the lounge and then push it back. Yeah. So it
All
came
right.
with its own problems. Okay.
Yeah.
But with that, this ADHD of as an animal, all it wants when it sees you is, oh, hello, hello, love me, love me, love me. Yeah. And, you know, it's quite nice to be loved, you know,
Yeah, of
just
course. Yeah.
openly. So I think that animals do bring a really good energy to our house. If you get one that isn't very nice, like friends have said, oh, well, my cat's really not very nice. And I go, well, what do you do with it? Oh, I just shut it in a room when it does that. Do you know what I mean? It's all of them have little energies, dogs,
Yeah.
anything. You know?
Oh, they're
It's all
lovely.
I know. So it's all about energy, people's energy.
Mm,
Like you're a great party giver, but
thank
you
you.
wouldn't have someone you didn't like in your house, would you?
Definitely not.
Because and when they do come in, and if they have come in, or you have someone quarrelsome comes into your space, even if you're like, say you were in a pub, um, and someone behind you is having a little domestic or argument or whatever, immediately your energy gets shrinks, doesn't it? And you don't feel, you can be vulnerable, or you just don't want to get involved, or maybe you do, or whatever. So when you have your house, you need to make that energy lovely for people to come in and
Yeah.
lovely for you to live in. So Feng Shui is a tool for that, basically.
Right. Yeah. Good. All right. So, how did you get into it in the first place? What was it that led you down the Feng Shui path?
Oh, that's interesting. So my friend, Lizetta, right. So very short thing.
Yes, right. We've got 7 minutes, so we can
Okay.
always start again. We can always start again. So it's fine.
No, it's fine. As a child, I lived with my mum, who wasn't particularly loving mum. So she used to send me to my nana's. I had two wonderful nanas. I had a brother, but he stayed behind. But I was in all holidays, weekends with my nanas, and they were like quite ancient, but quite crank, really weird. Like one nana would set a table for three, and there was only two of us. And I go, "Who's coming, nanny?" And she'd go, "You never know." And
Oh,
then
right, cool.
and then you go into her area where her computer, her old piano, and it would start playing itself. But as a child, I didn't know they were called pianolas. Yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway, from there, I learned to be, or was born with intuition. Answer the phone before it rang. Knew who's on the door, by the door. I'd be with my friends and say, "Oh, blah 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 blah." Got into my teens, saw things happening before they happened, which got me into a lot of trouble because I came from a very religious family. Well, my mum was religious. And in the end, she got a priest because I'd seen a car accident, didn't know I was going to be in it. I was 17, and she got a priest to come and talk with me. And he used to work in Peru, and he came up to me and he went, Janine, you until you leave this your mum's house, you can't say any of this stuff anymore. She can't, but don't give up on it. So
Oh,
I
right.
left at 19, married somebody,
Yeah.
um, and he loved it. So he'd go, "Oh, think of your cousin, right? Okay, get her to go to the phone and ring you." So I'd sit there, think of my cousin, talk to her from here, and then she'd come, and then I'd sort of dial the number, and then the phone would ring. Yeah, and he
Wow.
loved that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was able to expand on my intuition. If I go, I can literally meet people and know if they're the right people to be, around regularly.
Good.
Um, so intuition is everything. If I think things, they tend to happen. Um, so my friend, it got me in a lot of trouble. I remember
Hmm.
being at work with 40 guys, and I went to answer the phone. I was the secretary to 40 guys, and I went to answer the phone, and I went, "Oh, hello," and spoke to someone, and this guy went, he just got a cross out and did this to me. I was like, "What?" He goes, "That phone didn't ring, and you
Oh,
answered it." And
right.
I was like, "Okay." So my friend Lizetta said to me, "You need to learn something." So I got very interested in Feng Shui. So I could go to people's houses and literally Feng Shui them, but already intuitively know what needed to be done. But then I could give them things that need to be done. So I can literally shake someone's hand, and that's the worst thing to do with me if you don't want me to know something about yourself.
All right. I don't think I've ever shaken your hand, shook your hand actually, so that's useful.
One guy, I was at a breakfast meeting in business, and I think what you say is rubbish, Janine. I was like,
Oh,
"Really?"
right, nice.
I said, "Shake my hand then." So he shook my hand, and I went, "Does your wife know about your other daughter?" And he went, "What?" Like this, and he was like, "Yeah, does your wife know?" I was like, No." I said, "Well, you've got three daughters. What about your other daughter?" "Nobody knows about the other daughter," and all that sort of thing. "Don't tell anyone because no one knows like that." And I went, "Do you believe in Feng Shui and Chinese astrology?" "Yeah." "Yes." So
Goodness me, right, yeah.
when I get like in that mode, I will.
Mm,
I think you might have seen me actually. I will
mm.
tease people. So
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
I hide it still because people don't really like it. They don't really like you want to know everything about you.
Well, there's that, and yeah, and also you're going to get people criticizing you, aren't you, as well, which you're probably not bothered about. But
Not now.
some people get so touchy about this sort of thing. Although
Are you?
I've said to someone on the last interview that I have found that in the sort of like tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but in the last 10 or 12 years, I find people a lot more open about this sort of thing now and do talk about it a lot more. Excuse me. The internet's probably helped, and people can find like-minded people. But in general, I find people are happy to openly talk about
You're absolutely right.
that sort of thing.
It's just changed in life. It's changed for me. It's much easier. People used to think I was just a bit weird, and they can do if they know. No, they do not. And you're really right. I don't have a problem if I do something random that people go, "How did you know that?" I just laugh now. Whereas before, I was so, because of the way my mum was, I was like embarrassed or I don't know, all the worst things you can think about yourself. So. Yeah, and I think that's why I like living around the innocent lives of cats and general quiet energy. It really works for me, and living by the beach helps as well. So yeah,
How's it help living by the beach?
I'm an early morning person,
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah, and I used to be a DJ, so I used to be the other
yeah.
end of it. But just going out and the energy of the sea is
Mm.
really, or water is really important. Just energy outside is
Yeah.
important. We live in our houses, but if you're feeling like things are starting to upset you or get on top of you, if you can just get out and walk.
Mm.
I never used to think that, but the fresh air of being outside just makes a difference.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm drinking the tea out of the mug that you got me, which is very kind, by the way.
Yay.
But sorry, just repeat it on me. So that's nice, isn't it, for everyone listening? Um, yeah, fair enough with the fresh air, especially. I can understand that one and the early starts of the morning. I'd like to do early starts, but unfortunately, working late, it's not so easy nowadays. Do you get intuition with the animals that you live with? Like, are you able to pick up things like that they've thought or said or done?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's that this is the weirdest thing. I literally, obviously I talk to them because it's like, oh, it's food and everything. But say cat came in, I went, really? Did you see that? Like that? Because it feels like he's talking in my head, and now I seem like I'm really crazy. But
Hmm.
I had a deaf white cat, and I had to learn cat language.
Right.
And cats have expressions and they have things that you could do. So to communicate with my deaf white cat, I had to learn cat language.
Hmm.
So the answer to your question is yes, you can talk to the animals.
Blimey. Isn't that marvelous? That's really lovely. I love that. That's brilliant. Well, we're about to run out of time, Janine. I don't want to keep you
Okay,
too much longer. Thank you ever so much.
good.
Uh, we've learnt loads on the Parallel Planets podcast there. I'll put your website in the information underneath the podcast. Anything you want to say? Anywhere people can find you? Anything like that?
Okay, so I have two books out which you can find on Amazon.
Hmm.
And it's first one is Date, Love, Marry, Avoid. That's all about Chinese astrology and who you're compatible, who you really aren't compatible. But then I wrote Feng Shui Your Way to Abundance, which is a book that helps you easily Feng Shui your house. It has lots of information about manifesting and everything that I've talked about in the podcast, basically. So that can be found on Amazon, and obviously I'm on Facebook, which is Janine Lowe Feng Shui, as it's in on Instagram and TikTok.